Okay, after, this is 1947, apparently in 47, of course now we're talking, 1.5 years, 2 years after the war is over. We had heard maybe, I don't know if it was 46, it's possible that in a neighboring village someone had gone to America. So that was my grandmother's town. So she and I walked over and talked to the parents of that person. Turned out that this woman had been, somehow she was was a wife or somehow related to a military person in an American serviceman. Why she was there, stuck like I don't know. So she apparently went back to Hungary, to America. And now you got to understand that right around 42, 43, 44, we forgot. I even forgot that I was an American. As a kid, that was the farthest thing from my mind. In 47, apparently we got letters from my mother and care packages. She sent odds and ends and things to the family. And then eventually we heard by mail that they were trying to set up a trip for me. I was, interestingly, I just was re-examining an envelope with materials about my parents, their passports and so on. And mine is in there, 1947. It had the date, that I left. The stamps on it where I stopped. I was in Prague, and then I was in Denmark, and then I was in Sweden. The stamps are in there. So that was like July 14th, July 10th, 12th, somewhere in there is when I left. And we flew this plane to Sweden, Gothenburg, Sweden, where we got on the Griffsholm. This was an old passenger ship. And it took 8 days, I think, across the Atlantic. So I arrived July 29th of 1947 in New York Harbor. And so I and many others that I knew were thinking of going in the service anyway. But other friends at graduation in 1953, select few would go to college. I didn't, because my folks encouraged me to go in the service first and get the GI Bill, and then I'd go to college. And so July 13th of 1953, I got to New York, and there, I forgot the terminology they use, but it's the recruiting area. They took us to Fort Kilmer in New Jersey, and you have about 5 days there where they test you, to take all kinds of tests. I was sent to Fort Dix, New Jersey, which we were, I guess, a selected outfit. What I recall about the basic training was that I have this is my memory, very high in my mind, that at the end of this 8-week cycle of Service Battery, 84th Field Artillery Battalion, 39th Infantry Regiment, Outstanding Soldier. Pretty good, because there were like 250 guys there, and I was selected as the Outstanding Soldier of the cycle. So that was to me, that was a big deal. Oh, we had a choice. And I already been tested, and they asked who wants to go to officer candidate school. Now remember, I am at this point 18 years old. Yeah, I was 18. And so, I'd like to go to officer candidate school. So they gave us some kind of an interview, There's like 20 some odd guys out of those 250. And I think 3 or 4 of us, that we actually chose to go. The rest of them didn't. Well, you know, what happened was they take people that had been interrupted in the preparation, guys that had maybe had a couple of years of college, and they didn't want to be involved with the military any longer than they had to be because they were drafted. I was a volunteer. RA 1243667. Said right there. RA 1243667. Sir, you know, it stays right with you. You know, so as a result, though, we had 8-week cycle right there. It was great, you know, very good. We got sent off, the 3 of us, to an other training unit. That was a 16-week cycle. We had to have that in order to go to OCS, to be sent off to OCS. So this is the summer of, you know, the fall of 53. It was, you know, it was exciting in a sense. And we actually did some real live training. One of them was, you go through the infiltration course, and there's a machine gun up there, and you crawl under the fire. Of course, they said they used to keep the fire 36 inches off the ground. Well, that wasn't true. It was higher. You probably could stand up and it wouldn't hit you, thank God. You know, but you hear, you know, the bullets going by, and you're crawling on your belly with the, you know, so that was at night. And there's other noises, explosions and so on. A very, very creative, very realistic experience. We wanted to go armor. So they sent us to Fort Knox, but now we're officers. So we went to Fort Knox in August of 54, coincidentally with the West Point class of 54, those cadets that were armor officers taking their officer's basic course. So if you follow me now, you know, before I was as a cadet, candidate. Now I am an officer going for 6 months to this school. So some of it was repetitive, but armored school was different from artillery school. Different things that you do. And that was it's an interesting experience. We prepared to go to Germany. The regiment, this was a new thing. The whole regiment, not like, you know, individuals go and go to Germany and you join some unit, or you were sent to somewhere as an individual. You know, this was different. They called it gyroscope. It was the first time they tried it. It was a small unit. The whole regiment. What's a regiment? A regiment would have been like 1,000 guys, you know. We got on a boat and went to Germany and replaced, this was the 3rd Armored Cavalry, we replaced the 7th Armored Cav in Nuremberg area, Germany. They came and took our places. They took our tanks here. We took their tanks there. It was called gyroscope. You know, it was a big deal. We were assigned like Border Patrol. Basically, that's what we did. Our unit took this 7th Cav's position along the Czech-German border. Actually, it was Bavaria, the state of Bavaria in Germany. I don't know how many kilometers it was, but it took all day to kind of patrol down along the border and check points and things. And that was, you go up there for 3 weeks. The company, there were 3 companies. And really what you did was you rode around with your jeeps, and the men checked checkpoints, basically. That's what it was. And I'd go up, well, if we were up there for the 3 weeks, of course I'd be up there with them, but I wouldn't actually go out for patrol. I did, not supposed to. Got in trouble over it because I'm not supposed to be riding on the patrols. I'm supervising them, but I wanted to see where they went. It's an interesting experience. You going through older towns, you would stop off in different places. There was I don't ever remember having any incidents other than one of the checkpoints was kind of funny. One of the points we had, you're high ground. It might have been like an old fort, a family fort, where we had an observation post, and the guy up there would sit there for I don't know how many hours they were there, and you look into Czechoslovakia. There was a river between us, I think, and you could look into Czechoslovakia, and one of the guys was writing stuff that, he got bored, and he'd say, one individual left the building, and he's walking towards a small building, small hut, and he stays in the little hut, and he's writing about an outhouse, that kind of thing. That was kind of funny. It was obvious, that particular, my troops as such, it was okay. It was boring for everybody. It was difficult for them because I go up. One time I went up to check the various outposts, and I caught the guy's listening on the radio in the truck, but he's asleep. This is at night. And of course he's supposed to warn the other guys because they're also asleep. It turns out nobody's awake. This is not good. Of course, this wasn't war, but it's not the way you do. In the military, I think at one time in the war, they said if you were caught sleeping on duty, you could be shot during the war. That's how important it is. So anyway, there were those experiences that, and then just living in the German environment. We lived in a caserne. A caserne would be the same as a post, a fort. The German, well built. They were well built. Nice. Everything is. Their buildings were all brick and mortar. Well built. They didn't build in wood like we do here. Well, we lived in wooden World War II temporary buildings here.